in Ryden, we have a lot of people who have been there for, long periods of time. Business looks after people. In terms of changing cities, changing places, I'm just fully supportive of every effort to bring that building back. I think we all have a collective responsibility to get back into our cities, to buy food in the restaurants and etc. I'm very, very keen to see projects come to Glasgow, occupiers come to Glasgow and to make a change.
Welcome to the People and Property Equals Progress podcast, brought to you by Lambert Smith Hampton. Here we go beyond the bricks and mortar and take a deep dive into the fascinating stories behind the business. What makes LSH unique isn't the property market that they operate in, it's the people that drive it forward. The breadth and diversity, the imagination and the ambition of their people. Every episode, we'll sit down with an inspiring guest and they'll share their journey, their vision and their passion. So, let's get started. This is very exciting, Ezra, because everyone else we've spoken to before, you know very well. They're part of the LSH. They are part of the people that we talk about. And this is a new friend. We're here with Alan Gilkison, a new acquaintance, a new friend, but an amazing, budding, accelerated relationship you guys have had.
Exactly.
Should we talk about that? A year ago, did you know each other?
Maybe briefly.
I
think we would have started.
We
would have started about probably about a year ago or so. We would have known various different colleagues in Ryden just from time, relationships, doing
industry,
business together, etc., etc. It's been a rather rapid 7 months or so for us in terms of the time that's passed between ourselves and Ryden. Feels like I've known you for a lot longer than that, Alan, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's just over a year. The whole kind of process took, and culminating in April and getting the deal done. So, we spent a lot of time in each other's company and talking about things and strategizing. So, I think it accelerated getting to know each other.
That's it, exactly.
And Alan, what's your role at Ryden? Because to me, you seem like you must be right up there in the company. Ezra's been at LSH a long time. You've been at Ryden over 30 years. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so what exactly do you do currently?
I've got a split role at the moment. My principal role is being managing partner. So that's taking with the day-to-day running with the business, engaging with colleagues in the running of the business, the kind of internal board, but also working with Ezra and Mass and other colleagues in LSH to look at the UK as a whole, because the deal has meant that Ryden is shifting back to having a focus in Scotland, whereas previously we had a number of offices in the north of England, but we are really looking at the UK as a whole, and it's about bringing two businesses together and three businesses with SHW and really trying to grow revenues and find opportunities to work together. So main role is running the business day to day, engaging with LSH and the wider strategies, and then a kind of dirty secret is I'm what's called a shed shifter by day, which is an industrial agent. So I'm involved in the development of industrial property and letting and selling of that as well. So I've got a fee
shed shifter.
I've got a fee earning role as well as trying to keep things turning over.
And Ezra, what was it in Ryden that you saw that you wanted to be part of? What was it? I know that there's so many businesses out there, but at one point you've got to make a choice and see the growth and see the values intertwine that connect you both.
For us, with Rydens, I think it's like a sort of two-part process. The first element of it is we run the rule over a lot of businesses. Most of that we kind of do in-house, and then we'll engage with sort of additional help and support as we need just to build a picture of a particular business. So we've got a pretty good idea of a business before we've even sat down with the management team. In our industry, it's rare you don't know people in a particular business because it's a village industry. So that's part one. Part two, which is I think really where Ryden excelled in criteria, is the fact that they are the number one firm in Scotland. Unashamedly. And I think to Alan's point about its own expansion to other territories, if you think Scotland, you think Ryden. He's wearing his shed shifter, I've got sort of capital markets hat on. Yeah. If you were ever venturing into doing any business in Scotland, to not engage somewhere in the process with colleagues from Ryden would be quite a rare thing to do. So they kind of go-to business, their go-to brand, the go-to firm in that part of the world. So that kind of ticked a massive box for us. In fact, so much so that what we have decided to do, and it was part of our strategy, was that whilst we have LSH in Scotland, in reality, Ryden is our go-to-market brand in Scotland. So we've put all of our kind of chips behind Alan and the team in terms of how do we work together through Ryden to optimise opportunity for the wider group in Scotland.
So you've moved your whole team into the Ryden space.
Correct.
So that you can collaborate, be more efficient with decision making. That's amazing.
Correct.
Also quite complementary, Alan. They're like, right, we don't want to compete in any other way. We're joining forces into the extent that they believe in what you've done, where you've set up and everything that you've had. So going all the way in.
Yeah, I mean, it's
jumping in with both feet.
It's a huge compliment to have that trust, and I don't take full responsibility for it. I mean, but it's a business that's been built since 1959, and you're custodians for it, and you inherit the business and you move it on. But it's a huge vote of support that they believe in what we offer and how we can move forward together. Really,
I think for us also, I think our investments in both Ryden and SHW have also seen a different methodology of looking at how we grow as a business, because we don't have ownership of Ryden. We have a stake in Ryden, and therefore by having a stake, it's all about the Ryden brand, the Ryden business, the Ryden people, and then figuring out how do we work in a collaborative way where 2 and 2 can equal 5, but independently run our own ships in the best way we see fit. And Alan does that in his role at Ryden in the same way as Russell does it for SHW. I know you'll meet Russell in due course, myself and the management team for LSH. So we sort of try to get the most out of what we are in our respective markets.
Have you had to break down quite a lot of barriers in that in order to, I mean, both very successful businesses come together, or was it quite seamless in that transition?
I'll let Alan answer that one actually, since he's on the other end of it.
It's early days. I mean, we're shifting staff across our staff in England, say Tuping across into LSH, and they are now actively engaged. They were slightly ahead of what happened in Scotland, and it's over the last few weeks that the LSH team in Scotland have to be across. So it's still a getting to know each other. Everyone's really excited about the opportunities because we have got some fantastic people on both sides, and coming together in the one business. It's things that we would have been looking to do anyway, go out and recruit some of the people that we have, are coming in. So it's an exciting time. Everyone is behind the vision. It's been a nervous time for a lot of people. Something that is a lot of people really value in Ryden is the culture, and how does a culture emerge in the business is very difficult to define. Again, I'm not taking responsibility for it. What I try to do is emulate predecessors who really cared about people. In Ryden, we have a lot of people who have been there for long periods of time because the business looks after people. So we've got a culture that people are wanting to protect, and there is a nervousness there, but all the promises, everything that LSH said they would do, and the direction of travel, it's playing out. So hopefully we'll get beyond that, getting to know each other and move into the real let's drive this forward, because it's going to be a success.
Nice.
And I think, Chemmy, the thing is that it's an evolution, right? I think in our industry, we've tried revolution. It has big challenges. The first thing you do when you buy a business is you impose yourself on that business, your brand, your colour, your culture. You rip the sign off the door and you put yours on, and all those things kind of happen. And as I say, sometimes it can work out really well, and sometimes it really can backfire quite badly. We've learnt from our parent company, because as you know, we're part of Connells and the Skipton Group. And the Connells Group that's grown massively over a number of years, this is kind of almost their methodology of looking at investments in not buying the entirety of businesses necessarily. And I think we've learnt through this investment a different way, and I think it's proved to be a really good way, because you're not having to clash cultures, you're having to embrace the cultures, and then it's all about what can 2 and 2 equal more than 4 or 5 or 6, and then thinking about what could the opportunities be between the different businesses. So I think it is an evolution, and it'll take time. Like Alan has just said, thankfully, and I will feel the same way, that we're on the right path and we're moving forward in a really positive, good way.
And how has this been received, especially in Scotland, by others in the market?
I'm sure it was initially surprise. It's a business that's had approaches over the years, and it's never been the right fit. I'm sure the market probably still anticipates that the Ryden brand and etc. will disappear, but we're going to market with the Ryden brand, because that's the value, the brand that is value in Scotland. So I think it would be a surprise, but people are getting used to the new world.
Interesting, very interesting. So now we're going to start the relaxed part of the podcast, because it's about you, Alan.
No.
Okay, there's no right or wrong answer. Not that there was any right or or wrong answer and all of that, but that's what we want people to hear about, this exciting future that you both have. But what is your favourite place or building? Now, because you're a Scot, you're going to have to go something in Scotland. Scottish pride.
I'm going to go for a building that is in Glasgow and has actually got a bit of a sorry tale about it, which is the Glasgow School of Art. I can't draw to save myself, but I've always been interested in architecture, and I've got big glossy coffee table books when Gaudi and Frank Lloyd Wright and one Charles Rennie Mackintosh, who built and designed a masterpiece in Glasgow, and in 2014 there was a smell of smoke across the city, and the School of Art was on fire, and it was a real disaster, because I don't know if you've been in the space, but it's an amazing building. It is, I would imagine architects build things throughout their life and it's always compromised, and they get asked to cut this and that. Yeah. But it was fully realised. It was a beautiful building with an amazing library, and the studio space for the artists was incredible. Everything about it was just a really special place. So yeah, that was heartbreaking for it to go on fire. And then great efforts were put into to bring it back, and it was very close to being opened again, and the pictures were coming out of the library. It had been recreated, and one evening, I think it was about 2018, it was on the news that it was on fire again. And I live relatively close to the School of Art, and I actually couldn't believe the news, and I had to go out of my house and walk down and see it, and it was really on fire. It was just a really intense fire, and it has largely been destroyed. It's covered in scaffolding with tarpaulin over it, and I don't know the ins and outs of what's going on to start the process again, and if it ever will start again. But I just stood there absolutely heartbroken. I've never felt so strongly about a building and what was happening. Even a few weeks ago, I was walking past it, and there were an American couple standing outside it, and they were in tears. They hadn't heard that it burnt down, and they'd come to a trip to Scotland, but one of the things they wanted to see was the School of Art, and I had to tell them the story of it. And it was, in terms of changing cities, changing places, I'm just fully supportive of every effort to bring that building back, because it's so important to Glasgow.
Am I right, during the Commonwealth Games, did they use old CGI? They used something, it was part of the Commonwealth Games somehow. They brought it back to life. I think it might have been AI or CGI images, so that it could be part of the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, because it was such an important architectural design.
Yeah, the first fire would have just predated the Commonwealth Games, so yes. I mean, Charles Rennie Mackintosh's designs were used quite a lot in the games, and are kind of synonymous with Glasgow. Yeah, that's my heartbreaker. So
oh well, maybe if you keep putting it out there's some part of your passion that will help direct its reinvention.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it come back.
Well, listen, when Scots have something in their heart, it tends to happen. What about a place or a building that's changed your life? Personally, professionally?
Not sure I could go as far as to say a building has changed my life, but certainly a building that has brought a lot into my life is actually work related. It was 1997. Ryden were instructed by Glenmorangie to help acquire the Ardbeg distillery on Islay. So this was a mothball distillery. It had been out of production for quite a number of years, and it was largely dilapidated. And I and a team went over, spent 3 pretty amazing days on Islay looking at that building. It's a building that has been brought back to life, and Islay is now somewhere that my family and I go every year. I'm just so grateful that building was there and introduced me to somewhere that is very, very important to me, because it's one of these places I can go and sort of decompress, using that terrible term, but it is great beaches, lots to do on it, and Ardbeg is another building where people come from all over the world as part of a pilgrimage, see all sorts of nationalities at Ardbeg, and they're just so excited that they're on Islay and they're at Ardbeg. They're followers of the whiskey. So yeah, it's a building that's brought about something that's really important to me.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds both professionally and then personally.
It's great.
It introduced you to somewhere that has changed your life.
Yeah, there's great satisfaction seeing it in production and being such a global brand, and having played a small part in in realising that.
Do you like whiskey?
I love whiskey.
Do you like whiskey, Ezra?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I pretend to like whiskey. I feel like I want to like it. It's got that kind of inspirational drink where at the end of the night it's the fire's burning, but I can't. I just much prefer, every time I drink it, I think it's apple juice, Chemmy. Imagine it's apple juice.
Yeah, well,
such a child's palate.
Well, my wife's of a similar view. She loves everything about whiskey. She
Yeah.
loves the distilleries. She
Yeah.
loves the history. She loves even the smell of the bonded warehouses, all that. But she just doesn't like
Doesn't
the
like the
drink.
taste. Cheap date then.
Exactly.
Ideal, I'd say.
But I do find it always amusing when it comes to whiskey because, of course, Scots will drink whiskey with a bit of water and never on ice, whereas us Southerners haven't got a clue and we have it on ice without water. So it's amazing.
It
how-
really changes though.
It's
when
a
you
totally
add
different drink.
tiny bit, yeah.
Yeah.
What about a place, a city, or somewhere you've been that you want to transform? That something about the city you've seen potential in, or has irritated you, or a building and you'd like to transform, and why?
I think you usually start from where you live, and there are lots of things about Glasgow that I would like to change. I think London has really transformed itself in the last couple of decades. In terms of urban realm and a lot of the places, etc. And recently back from a family holiday in Japan, and you walk around Tokyo, biggest city in the world, and hardly a bit of litter or graffiti or anything about that, and it's a kind of societal ownership and responsibility. Post-COVID, and Glasgow and a number of other cities have probably suffered a bit by dropping footfall into them for all sorts of reasons. And the city councils get a lot of the blame for that, and they've got their part to play. But I think we all have a collective responsibility to get back into our cities, to get back into office buildings, to buy food in the restaurants and etc. But just take a collective responsibility and passion in your city. So I'm very, very keen to see projects come to Glasgow, occupiers come to Glasgow and to make a change. But we can't just all sit back and blame someone else for things not happening.
I'm fault of that because, as you know, my husband's Glaswegian, and we used to go to Buchanan Street all the time. We haven't been there for 10 years. And I think I use the children as an excuse. So we go to the Science Centre all the time, which is one of my favourite things about Glasgow. But, now that we can't drive into the very centre, we use all of these things as an excuse. And I really miss it because there's so much beauty in the centre of Glasgow. And I think we need to celebrate that because it does get forgotten along the way. I think when people talk about Glasgow, they talk about the friendliness of the people. And like you said, if those people can start giving back to where they're from, it will absolutely flourish because it's got all the attributes, it's got all the heritage to be incredible.
It does have all the attributes, just needs a group of people or all of us to bring it together. And we just need to get back on track a little more. So yeah, very keen to work with the capital markets teams to look at the opportunities to invest in Glasgow. There's not been an awful lot of office development recently, but the timing's looking right for driving projects forward. So yeah, we're all keen to do our bit.
I mean, slightly different sort of angle on it. I think from a business point of view, I think partly why we wanted to get invested in Scotland is that Scotland has had a really challenging time economically, probably disproportionately worse than the South has fared. And therefore, part of it was also kind of back to Alan's point of timing, because I think as the political cycle changes once more in Scotland, I hope that will also coincide with probably better economic fortunes as well. So I think from a business point of view, hopefully we'll get the benefit a bit more of an up. Yeah. It's not premeditated in the sense that we're expecting it to happen, but it's a kind of, you can see that there could be change coming, and actually it's a win-win for everybody.
So is Scotland generally across the corporate world seeing a lot of investment coming in right now?
Yeah, I mean we're now a number of years post-COVID, and as I say, there was quite a long pause, but there are a lot of positive discussions going on. One of the areas that we're seeing a bit of an uptick is in build to rent and student accommodation, and organisations such as the Scottish Property Federation have been working very hard with the Scottish Government because the Scottish Government wanted to bring in rent controls for understandable reasons, but that was making sort of investment in BTR in Scotland very, very difficult. And in the recent weeks they've listened and they're watering down the housing bill, and that's going to be really positive. There have been very successful projects in Glasgow, and I'm hoping that positive news out there is going to see, not necessarily floodgates open up again, but see Scotland really is a proposition for various investments. So yeah, we criticise government and councils a lot, but
hard decisions.
They've
always hard.
they've listened, so that's positive.
So just to go back to a thread of passion that we've been talking about beforehand, you guys didn't collaborate just because, Alan, you wanted to come on the LSH Ski Challenge.
Not at
there
all.
is a part of that. There's definitely a part.
I have
of
been
that.
asked that several times, and when the kind of deal went through, I received quite a number of text messages from clients saying I'll be expecting an invite.
Yeah.
You know, so
I mean,
I've got a cat suit you can borrow. You know, we can train you up. No, but will Ryden be able to race as Ryden team?
Well, I was about to say, you
Yeah,
can pretty much be sure that Alan will be putting out a Ryden team.
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
sure of that. I think
Training sessions
our
at
next ski
Bearsden.
challenge is going to be super competitive.
yeah.
Oh, that would be really exciting. You've got a year and a half to train up as well. Maybe we can have a head-to-head battle. Because Ezra, for the last few years, has been backing out of racing, Alan.
Really?
Yeah, he's lost his mojo for racing a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put the pressure on now and say, Alan wants this to happen, Ezra, let's make it happen. All
That
head-to-head.
sounds pretty good. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
up for
there
that.
we go.
Yeah.
The big
Right.
challenge.
Amazing. Well, thank you so
No,
much for
thank
joining
you.
us. It's fascinating to hear. You know, for me, Scotland's always been part of my life. So to see Britain come together and having united goals together as two companies who are so successful, it makes so much sense. So well done, guys.
Thanks, Chemmy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.